Thank you everyone for joining. So yeah, we're gonna hit it off with quick fireside chat with Andrea from Ocean. So I'm gonna let you introduce yourself real quick, and then we can go into the topic of where TF is AI taking DeFi.
Taking what? Taking what?
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks for coming. First of all, my name is Andrea. I've been in the space for nearly 9 years. My first touch point was, fun story. Before we get into it, my professor was proposed us to do an accounting exam, and then at some point he had an argument with the dean, and he was like, "Guys, why don't we propose a student to do a triple accounting exam?" And I was like, "What is triple accounting?" So turns out, all the class of 2016 we got into Bitcoin because of that reason, and then I got into AI in 2019, decentralized AI in particular. And then I specialized mostly in a bit of token engineering and product management in that field. So yeah.
Nice. Maybe a quick intro from my side as well. I'm Matej, head of partnership at Oasis. I've been with the team for almost more than 3 years now. Gone in crypto because of Bitcoin and ETH, and then my privacy nature. Oh yeah, the microphone. Yeah. Privacy took over, so joined Oasis, and everything else is history. So the talk, why we chose this topic is, of course, Andrea is quite a specialist in this space, but also at Oasis we see DeFi and AI as being like the main verticals, right? That are really sticking in crypto and are a good application of blockchain tech, right? So, what's your take on how is AI, bringing, taking DeFi to the next step, right? Where is AI really taking DeFi or DeFi AI? I don't know how much you hate the acronym or not. For me, it sounds a little bit silly, but we're in crypto, so they like to name everything, deep in, blah blah blah. So, what's your take on where is AI taking DeFi?
All right. So first of all, the name. I guess I'd love to find the person that actually gave it the name, because in Web3 we have the tendency to complicate things. Let's just call it DeFi AI for now. And I guess the purpose of it is how do we. So we kind of acknowledge that one of the biggest use cases in Web3 for now is DeFi, and DeFi remains quite complex despite the large liquidity and the volumes, but. I guess the natural evolution of AI here in decentralized finance would be how do we make DeFi actually more accessible, but also, and this kind of opens up the discussion around open source softwares and closed software. How do we make it more sustainable, more accessible, but also more secure? And so, kind of blending in these three objectives together bring us to all these AI agents and swarms and everything that we've been listening about over the last 6 to 8 months, probably.
Yeah, that's true, right? So currently DeFi is still used predominantly by big actors that understand, the risk, the flows, where are the best APIs, and moving their funds, liquidity, and the normal users prefer to kind of, play around with memes and bet on a token just because it's kind of easier to understand. Like when Pendle came out, with all those YT tokens, I don't know what else, right? I guess it was quite difficult to grasp. Why is that token going to zero at maturity, or stuff like that. So having AI be kind of the common interface, right, for your interactions, so you can interact with the whole DeFi space and have a familiar UI, right, and UX for it. I think it's definitely one of the why to use AI in DeFi, right? If we move to the kind of the second question, one is where, the other one is why. It's this simplification, right? But maybe we covered the why, and
actually I have a point on that. I agree on that. I think one clear use case is, okay, how do we use LLMs maybe within MetaMask or whatever to be like, hey, instead of me learning about Pendle, me learning about yields optimization and all these stuff that is fairly only really only treasury managers or really deep DeFi people know. It's like, okay, how do I use the LLM to then run my strategies? I guess there is some issues, some systemic issues with that also, in the sense that once these reaches global adoption, the strategies themselves kind of doesn't, like, they don't make any more sense because the alpha is democratized, and the point of like this trading strategy that actually works is not democratizing the alpha. And so I'm like, how do we find ways to use AI for DeFi that helps user? And my personal take on this is, if we're looking at Chain Analysis 2022, there was nearly $4 billion of users' funds lost in scams and hacks. And so how can we make Web3 more safe and secure? And by the way, like, one of the biggest principle is you own your key on your funds. In reality, it turns out people actually don't really want to hold their keys. And so the same applies with them using MetaMask, whether they're using an LLM or not. We need to make sure that every time they're using a wallet, the interaction that that wallet has on the blockchain is as safe as possible. And so how can we use DeFi AI for potentially red flagging possible malicious transactions for the users? How do we make sure that there's not $4 billion a year, and that was also the bear market, by the way, in users' funds lost? So that would mean like it'd be number one. Second, if you want to use trading, risk management is a practice that probably needs to be spoken more than just trading or yield farming or airdrops. There's about 250 as of a couple of weeks ago, $1 billion in stablecoin minted on across chains. And so as this number grows and will keep growing, the systemic risk around yields optimization, all the loan to values and all the liquidity profiles on the systems they need to be, the risk increase exponentially as to the number of volumes and liquidity available. So I would say, in terms of use cases, number one is how do we make it safer for users? And then how do we make whatever strategies they use as risk adjusted as possible?
Yeah, that's a good point, but the problem with a lot of this stuff is, right, you're going off-chain, right? So you're going to centralized services, because it's hard to kind of have all that on-chain. So I think at least what we're also building, right, with Raffle is, kind of building those extensions, for off-chain compute that can be then on-chain verifiable, right? And I think the how here for the AI integration to DeFi is going to be very important, right? Because you mentioned LLMs, right? But LLMs right now are, the black boxes from Google, OpenAI, Anthropic, and plugging that into your MetaMask is kind of iffy, right? I don't know if you want to do that, right? I mean, we saw a lot of agents, that are kind of just plugged into LLMs, and then people trying to jailbreak them, right, and get their money. There was even there were some competitions, trying to get them to send over their funds, right? So I think the how here is actually very important, right? It's like, are you able, like let's say for a yield optimizing strategy, right? You probably don't need a model as big as, OpenAI or ChatGPT or Gemini, right? It can be smaller, more specific to the use case that you're trying to tackle, right? And that way you can maybe self-host it, or if it is hosted, that it's verifiable, that you have remote attestations to the code that's running off-chain, right? So I think the how here is going to be actually very important, not just slapping on AI and forgetting about all the first principles of crypto, don't just verify. But to one point as well, when you mentioned at the beginning, democratizing strategies, right, and strategies not being efficient across when it's everybody using them, right? I would say to an extent, I think there's going to be some base yield that's going to be obtainable, like even with T-bills, right?
Sure.
When the rates were high on T-bills, everybody was in T-bills, right? And of course, this is coming from the US government, but still, there is a basic need for stables, right? And there's going to be some base APY that you can kind of get on that. But then, yes, of course, more sophisticated strategy that kind of bring more APY will have to be private, right? And then again, if they're private, are they off-chain or they on-chain verifiable with some track record, and stuff like that. So it's going to be, the how is going to be, I think, very important here. I think this also touches a little bit on the why not to integrate AI into everything. But do you have any other why not use AI in crypto, in DeFi, or you're all pro AI?
No, I'm definitely pro AI. Like in general, it really simplifies. The only issue with I have right now is with autonomous agents. Autonomous agents involved a lot of like different a set of risks, which are going from governance, and there's a lot of papers talking about how autonomous agents still aren't ready because even DAOs right now they aren't really ready with governance. So let alone an autonomous AI agent. And so there's that. Plus, again, when it comes to strategies, I fully agree with you. Like if you were aiming for like 3 to 5% yields, great. Like you can just boost as much liquidity as you want. But the moment you go above 7, 8, well, that kind of becomes tricky because the higher the liquidity, the less the yields typically. And so the difficulty I see is, for whatever AI agent we have, how do you prove that this AI agent in this specific point in time is actually not malicious? So if you're trusting an AI agent to run your portfolio, how do you, what is the only way to make sure that this AI agent is actually going to be doing what you're expecting it to be doing? And my answer is, it has to be open source.
Yes.
It's the only way, because you're avoiding security breaches, because the community has more say than a team alone. And that's why Ethereum works, and it's the biggest one of the biggest successful use cases in crypto is because it's open source, and the ethos around Ethereum are open source too. So it's kind of the fine balance between the alpha that we're talking about, and so that's maybe where Oasis TE come in, and the kind of how do I make sure that the AI agent is actually not compromised and is as robust and democratized as possible.
Yeah. That's a good point, and I see here. I think the separation of agent funds and agent strategies is something to think about, right? So when we're talking about agents, it's always just one package, that fits everything in, right? Fund, strategy, LLM, maybe a persona on Twitter, whatever, right? But the compartmentalization, when you're removing, the wallet management from the kind of the strategy a little bit, and that the strategy has higher constraints in terms of what it can do. In terms of, let's say, it can do this or that on this venue, but for, let's say, withdrawals or deposits or whatever, it needs a certain extra step from the user, Maybe that's a solution that
fair enough.
Can help with that, because if you jam everything into one box, right, then you're increasing the attack surface, basically, right? And it's always like this. The more components there are, the more optionality it is for you to kind of try and breach it.
Yeah, and then you're kind of like right now you're entering into the kind of AI swarm type of topic, which is how do we take all these AI agents to the next level to kind of cross coordinate and create these utopic for now autonomous ecosystems that are self-sovereign, auto-govern, and yada yada. So, but I think there will not be any AI swarm before there's some solid AI agent. No, it's definitely an interesting evolution. And frankly speaking, it is going to happen. We just need to make sure that we're aligning privacy, decentralization, and open source software for having something that is not centralized and is as democratic as possible and can be audited at any time, publicly. So,
How are we doing on time? 5 minutes? Okay. We don't want to overextend it because we have a few other keynotes as well coming after. But
questions?
Maybe any questions from the crowd? Yeah. You need to speak to the mic because,
So I think a lot of people are worried about that LLMs and AI models, they kind of can hallucinate. And when it comes to DeFi, there's this monetary assets involved and you cannot take this risk. But there are also a lot of companies and startups that are working on these education frameworks. Like, for example, you can give an AI agent bounds to operate with it. So, for example, you can only use 0.1 of my ETH, or you can only bridge or swap this and that. And kind of have this delegation framework and permissions that the AI agent cannot go outside of, and also having an audit log on chain to kind of see this was the data that went into the LLM model, this is how it was trained, and this is kind of the steps that it's taken, and also reputation rating frameworks in this direction. Do you think they will work in improving this this hallucination problem or the risk, or do you think that this is not going to work in DeFi?
Right. So the question was, there's a growing number of tools that we can use to set parameters and ceilings cap to what the AI agent can do, right? And if this works or not. So great, that's like the immediate solution, right? Like, and that's what we use as treasury managers. We say, okay, we want to operate fully on chain. We set up a Gnosis safe between the DAO and the managers, and the Gnosis safe typically they whitelist operations. So you say, okay, you can only swap these assets for this amount using these protocols, right? Great, and that's how it works for treasury managers. Is that going to work for consumers? Like, does the consumer know? They surely know how much they want to invest. Do they know what the loan to value is? Do they know how to set the risk parameters? And so if we're using AI to simplify usage of DeFi, then we're kind of already making it more complex by asking the user to set all the parameters they want, right? So maybe we need to be smart about the parameters. There needs to be some sort of like customization levels, fully agree. Or maybe simply it's just not going to be made for all the users. As simple as that. Maybe there's some users that they just want to write in a LLM, hey, invest $500 for a 5% return. They don't care about anything else. Great. So I guess there's going to be like hyper specialized AI agent that are solving problems from different types of users.
Maybe just to add on to that, I think we had a conversation similar to this yesterday, where if you're asking the user to put the constraints on the AI, you're losing all the benefits of AI, right? But I mean, not all, but the majority of it. If you want the AI to find you the best yield, and then you limit it to a few applications, this is the yield that you already found, right? But obviously there's risk, right? In terms of, we know from past cycles, we had like enormous APYs on these tokens that then crashed, right? So people were, farming them for a little bit, and AI doesn't know, what's reputable, what's not. So maybe there's going to be a need for services that help AIs, kind of distinguish between, or just set kind of the risk levels that the users. So if I type into LLM, right, I want to get, APY above this, but let's try to find a medium level risk depths where I want to deploy this funding, right? And then it can reference, like Chainalysis does this for on-chain, the tinted money. Somebody else can do a similar service where it kind of helps AIs distinguish what's a protocol that's has open source code, it's audited, has a certain TVL, that there's a trust score that's higher. Even if you go on CoinGecko or CMC, right? I think CoinGecko has trust scores for centralized exchanges, right? Based on certain factors, right? So I think something like this, where you can kind of grade the apps, for agents to kind of make it simple for the agents to kind of distinguish where it's safe for the user to deploy. If somebody says, I want to take extreme risk and get like 100% APY, then there's a different that's a different section of apps that you're looking at. Then I want modest risk but at 5 to 10% APY, something like that, right?
Yeah, just a closing note for me, and then if you guys have any more questions. Another possible use case that wasn't really mentioned is it's still nowadays, if you think about it, for consumers and traders to get the right amount of analytics. Everything runs around KOLs, specifically on the speculation side of things. So how can we use DeFi AI, specifically some AI agent, to then call the data that you want to retrieve from the chain? So imagine a glass node where you've got a search bar and be like, hey, give me the top 25 whales that have moved funds on Ethereum, right? Obviously, it's going to be expensive because you need to connect all these type of data sources, but that could be a tool aside of the risk management part and how do we make wallets more secure to help users get more better quality information type of thing.
Yeah. I think Nansen kind of did that.
They did?
I mean, Nansen has a service similar to that. I'm not sure, but they do.
I'm sure there is something.
Yeah, I think Nansen has a service like that, and it makes sense. Any other question? If not, I'll just like to thank Andrea for joining us today. And stick around. We have more presentations from our ecosystem projects and what they're doing. Not sure who's up next. That's going to be Patrick's job. But thank you everyone for listening. Thank you, Andrea, for joining. Thank you.
I'm Marco. I do all the fun AI stuff on Oasis, and one very cool use case is obviously currently agents. And to demonstrate how agents should actually be built, especially if they provide some utility and are more than just Twitter chatbots, we have built WT3. It's the first, we say, trustless trading agent. And as we talked before, DeFi is super hype. Everyone is talking about it. But I honestly don't see too much adoption. I mean, we have an intimate group here, so raise your hand if you actually use some DeFi tooling, DeFi agents. 1, 2. What do you use? No comment. Okay. I do use, for example, Arma. It's an agent built by Giza that does yield optimization. I think that's a very straightforward use case. But it's very difficult. And I think one of the reasons, there's many problems with DeFi currently. I'll get to the last one, which I think is crucial, and that we try to solve. But first, for like real DeFi trading agents, just trading in general is super hard. And who is going to give you their trading logic if it's really profitable? Like, it's really difficult to kind of find a reason for it. Then second, there is a lack of decentralization. You always have these centralized teams building these agents, lots of trust involved that they do everything correctly. And third, implementing AI suddenly into this deterministic blockchain world is super difficult. Like, especially with LLMs, you suddenly have tons of new attack vectors where your agents can be jailbroken. We've seen this with Elsa, I think, where suddenly the agent transferred money where it shouldn't have. You can have prompt injections, data injections. And I think like just developers are not yet ready to push these things into production where you're like quite confident that the agent will be doing what it's supposed to, and especially when there is a user interface that it cannot be broken. And last, there's a very little transparency and there's pretty much zero verifiability. I mean, if you think about it, crypto was built on decentralization and verifiability. It works really well in a blockchain world, but now we're taking this off-chain intelligence, AI, and trying to merge these two worlds, but we have zero verifiability into what happened off-chain. And since we are Oasis, we have been working with TEs, as quite a few other teams, for many, many years, and we think TEs are a great solution for this. So to demonstrate this, we have built WT3. It's a trading agent that trades on Hyperliquid. It's been live for quite a while. You can check out the sites, the docs. To show you, it's just Python scripts that are running off-chain. It utilizes, I don't know, for example, the system prompt is confidential. It utilizes multiple APIs. Also for the AI model, it utilizes some tooling. But the interesting part is everything is fully verifiable. And how it looks like is we used Imperial as the SDK for the agent. That's kind of the tool, the framework that provides you. It's kind of a skeleton framework with easy access to tooling. Also the Twitter bot. Then we use Predictor. You just heard Andrea from Ocean. This is one of their tools. It's an AI-based prediction marketplace where they give you trading signals for the biggest key pairs, for the biggest trading pairs. Then it actually goes on Hyperliquid and trades. And something to be implemented is it goes on one of our DEXs on Oasis and actually kind of burns our native token rows from the profits. This is the core part of this presentation, how to build these actually trustless agents. Andrea mentioned before that they should be open source. I think it's just one part. Like, just because it's open source doesn't mean anything. Like, you can still be messing with the output. You have no idea if what the agent is doing is actually coming from the agent. So we think one of the core parts is actually execution in TEs. You host the agent in a trusted execution environment, kind of a TE cloud. This is what we provide currently with Intel TDX, because TDX provides way more flexibility than SGX, which was the previous TE version. Then with TDX, you of course also get hardware verifiability. This is done by remote attestations. So you kind of get the guarantees that there is compute integrity. The hardware is doing what it's supposed to be. But then a crucial part is you need verifiability that the app is doing what the app is supposed to do. For this, you have reproducible builds where anyone can generate the same binaries that are currently running in this TE machine based on the source code and some measurements. Then very crucial is you need on-chain policies. Those govern who can deploy my application, who can actually upgrade it. Just because an application is currently running in a TE doesn't mean it's going to be safe forever. Like, the core developers, the originators of the app can just upgrade and suddenly change some metrics where maybe even user funds are being kind of affected. Then you really need to think about, and I think that's a core message for anyone that's interested in the DeFi space, where does the key pair come from that is governing this agent. The agent is trading, so the agent has a wallet. Somewhere this wallet was generated, this wallet has a private key, and you really do not want anyone in control of this private key, unless it's very public and there's a team behind it and they take responsibility. But normally, best case, you actually have, I mean, you can do MPC protocols, etc., but we think deriving the key pair within a TE, where only the TE instance actually has access to the key, is a very cool mechanism that currently works. And second, you shouldn't have provider lock-in. It should be a decentralized provisioning of the agent. All of this is very complicated. I don't think it's very easy to build this by yourself out of the box, and honestly, you shouldn't. Messing with TEs is quite a mess. We have built Ruffle. It provides you all of these as defaults. I know quite a few teams are already checking it out. We will hear quite a bit more. We provide you secure and decentralized defaults where you just containerize your application, you register it as a Ruffle app, and suddenly you can get access to this via, for example, on-chain secret storage. We have a confidential EVM, so you can actually store secrets privately or encrypted on our network, and you get access to a REST API that provides you access to elliptic curves where you can derive multiple key pairs, for example, for EVM addresses and for Solana. We are working on this quite a bit more. We have injected some capital for it to start trading. It is currently live trading. I think it is not doing a profit. It's very difficult, as I said, to do an actual trading bot that is profitable. Plus, the fees do really kill you. But we have some ideas on how to also let users participate via staking, for example. And we will definitely templatize everything that we have built with WT3, so anyone can just copy it and change their trading metrics. And hopefully you are more successful. But initially, we're just looking for other projects to kind of build on top of this. If you have some trading signals, let's do this together. We will include those. If there are new venues for trading competitions, happy to kind of host our agent there too. I think this is pretty self-explanatory. If you want to join the Wolfpack, you can check it out. It's all public. It's all open source, at least the core parts. And then just a teaser that something is cooking. Yana is sitting in the back, one of the founders of Oasis, will present something tomorrow at the afternoon TE party. So if you're free, join there. There will be a big announcement into something that I kind of mentioned here already, but it's a very cool product. Also for non-devs, where we have built a non-CLI solution for you to build TE applications.
Without Patrick, without Marco, and without Will, that is not today here, this wouldn't be possible. But they created from an idea a reality. So today I'm very glad to be here to present Bit. Okay, it's kind of complicated, but let's start with what is Bit, okay? So your tokens, your bank, omni-chain, omni-asset. Right now we're just on Oasis, but it was the battle test to showcase the world that this can be possible. So BitUSD wouldn't exist. Everything orbits around BitUSD, okay? So another stablecoin, wow, that's very bad. But the reality is that this is the first multi-chain, decentralized, crypto-backed, over-collateralized stablecoin. We will go one by one during the presentation, but it doesn't exist right now, okay? Why? Because there are many problems right now, okay? So in the stablecoin ecosystem, we have 257 billions, where 87% relies on central entities that can blacklist you, that already did for an amount of 1.5 billions. And right now there's kind of a regulatory squeeze with the US Genius Act and the ones that are in Europe with MiCA and so on. So we believe that if we all rely, so can you guys stand up, raise your hand if you already use stablecoins for the past 30 days? Swap, trade, for sure, okay? Come on, don't be shy. Yeah, everyone. I mean, we wouldn't be here in the state that we are right now without stablecoins. But if we are relying on centralized stablecoins, we have a problem. Yeah, they are everywhere, kind of everywhere, but that's a problem. The second problem is the collaterals. Okay, we have liquidity, we have MakerDAO, CDPs are nothing new, but the reality is that 85% of the collateral sits idle. So they are unused. That's a reason for that, because they are unstable, they can pump and dump, there are so many manipulations, there's volatility, but we want to change that. So, and we have the third problem. The CDPs are isolated. They are isolated islands. Like the majority of them are just deployed on one chain, and only one or two are in more than 3 chains. Why? Because the complexity goes higher and higher and higher. So we came up with the solution. You remember that BitUSD? BitUSD is the main stablecoin of Bit Protocol, okay? What is Bit Protocol? It's a self-executing smart contract CDP protocol that allows to bridge natively in every support network an XRC20 stablecoin. So no wrappers. So first of all, you can bridge natively. Second of all, we can accept the widest range of collaterals. AI agents, the ones that are created, for example, on Oasis or others, meme coins, high liquid ones. We have semi-permissionless listing collaterals right now, but we're going to come to a DAO governance, so it will be all done by governance. Right now we're accepting tokenized treasury bills. Treasury bills are the most liquid asset in the world right now, around 300 trillions. So tokenized assets, we can accept them. Native tokens, we can accept them. Liquid staking tokens, we can accept it too. And why? Because we have security, it's the cornerstone. So we have like 3 layers of security. First one, chain isolation. Things that are happening in Oasis will not affect the other deployments on different chains. Second of all, vault isolation. Things that are happening in one token particularly are not going to affect the other ones. And insurance, cover protection. So it's powered by Atomica, it's a risk on-chain insurance protocol, but basically we cover insurance by on-chain premiums plus user fund insurance pools. We can go after that with a chat and I'll explain how it works. And then we have revenue share. I don't know why. Okay, sorry. Yeah, there are some things that are not happening. So we distribute all this revenue. We are not Circle or we are not Tether that we're keeping that revenue for ourselves or for the stakeholders. Everyone that is participating is getting a part. So how it works? It's quite basic. You deposit, you lock your token. If they are yield bearing, you will accrue that yield already. You borrow or you mint against this BitUSD, so you will get instantly a loan, depending on the loan to value. The less risky the collateral, the lower the loan to value, the more stable, the higher the loan to value. For example, with treasury bills, we have around 95% of loan to value. So you deposit 1,000, you get 900, 500, 950 instantly, okay? What do you do with that? It depends on you. You can swap it, you can trade it, you can bridge it across chains, or you can even leverage looping. Okay, so you get the amount that you already borrow, you deposit it again, you get the same, and you do the loop. So you can have leverage. This is something unique because imagine that you have a meme coin that you are like very bullish in it, not for 3 days, but let's say 6 months because they are going to do whatever, and you don't have leverage options. But you just depositing on the protocol, you will get leverage option on that. Even if you have a yield-bearing asset, like for example MT-Bill, they are giving you 4%. That's a treasury bill, right? But if you do a leverage looping, you can have a 20% yield on a really stable asset, low volatile, and really liquid. That's something amazing, in my opinion. But imagine that we are doing that in every chain. So then the insurers on different chains and different pools would earn the loan interest, right? The liquidity providers that are depositing, for example, in the DEXs like Thorn, that right now there's 1 million of BitUSD against USDC liquidity, which is something nice because you can bridge it. There's no option that you're going to get shortage. You will earn trading fees, okay? if you want to just be bullish on the protocol because of all the things that we're going to do and the deployments that are coming, you just stake the token and you will earn the protocol revenue that we're talking about. And every time you can redeem. How? Repaying your loan and unlock your asset. Quite simple. So the early traction that we have on Oasis is quite impressive. And again, shout out to you guys. Without you, that wouldn't be possible. But the reality is that it was kind of a beta test, okay? So we already showcase that this works. So we accept liquid staking tokens, we accept empty bills, and we accept native tokens as rows. And right now we have 4 million in TVL. Okay, that's not super big, but it's something big for us because it's the very first step. The reality is that thanks to the partners and Oasis, we accrue that. But the reality is that this is just a baby step. We're crawling. Right now we want to walk, and then we will be able to run. Okay, so we are planning to deploy on 6 different chains during this quarter. There are new features that are coming up, like front-end operator. If you're a KOL that you have kind of a user base that can use your product, you can have like a percentage of the protocol that will be brought by you for the people that you're generating. You will have flash loans, so you can leverage your position by themselves. Tropes will be NFTs, so you can automate like trading strategies or even delegate your collaterals. And there will be a point campaign, so you will be accruing points in order to get BIT token governance. Right now we are in the audit, but you know, like it's gonna end it up at the end of this month, and we're gonna deploy in 6 chains, 10 new collaterals. Just one chain, 4 million, well, it's gonna be in 6 chains and accepting 10 different collaterals. The same until the end of the year, but the reality is that we don't want to be a CDP. So we believe that the biggest problem of crypto is that we live in a debit market, right? So you have your tokens, you over-collateralize, and you can get a loan against that. But what about credit? I don't know if you know, but 50 billions is around the daily credit market in the US, and only 2 billions are the cash, like the debit one. So the reality is that we cannot unlock mass adoption without credit. So what we want to do is being everywhere, accepting anything, until we reach to a point that we have reputation-based credit score systems, so we can give credit, even unsecured and collateralized lending. So if you're part of the journey, maybe you are the first one receiving that. So the opportunity is huge. I mean, right now it's not that big, 257 billions for the money that we're talking about, like 900 trillions in the Web2 ecosystem is nothing. But for the ecosystem itself of crypto, it's huge. 257 billions. That's a lot. And it's going to grow to 2 trillions, like they're saying that on the market trends. So if we just accrue 1% of that, we are generating between 60, 80 millions per year that are going to share around all the protocol. That's something unique. And the reality is that I'm not alone. I'm not this guy just speaking and shout out in everyone. We have a team that were past contributors to many of the biggest projects like Lido, Sora, Super Rare, Neon, Safe. And also we are co-incubated by Protofair Ventures. Shout out to them. They are already there. So these guys are the dev DAO behind 20 billions in market in market cap. So that's all, folks. So BitUSD backed by everything, everywhere. It was a pleasure to be here. If you have any question, I'll be here around. Thank you very much for your time.
Hello. So I'm Jacques, I'm tech lead at Simply Staking, and today I will be speaking about Rubik, which is about decentralizing password security. So this is an overview of the agenda of this talk. So basically I will start with the problems of traditional password manager and basically work my way through to our timeline and what we're building and what we're doing. So this is basically how our website looks. And now I can start with the problems. So as you all know, most of the current password managers, they're centralized and anyone using them have their passwords being stored on some server or on the cloud. And unfortunately, if that goes down, it means that you'll lose all your passwords. Or worse, if it gets hacked, all your passwords are also hacked. Now, there are two kinds of password managers mostly. So the first kind would have passwords stored on the cloud, as I've said, and they would be using some kind of encryption on the passwords. But as a user, you don't know what kind of encryption method they're using and how safe it is, and others give you the encrypted file for you to store. But that raises some concerns to users. For example, where do you store this file? How do you take a backup of it? Or if you're like accessing passwords from both your mobile and your device, how do you make sure that this is synced between your devices? And finally, the last problem is when sharing passwords. So obviously most password managers allow you to share passwords with others. So if these password managers are using master passwords, you have to trust that the person with whom you're sharing the password with is using a strong master password. Why? Because if they're using a weak master password, it means that your password is also at risk. So now I will be going through why Rubik stands out. So obviously Rubik is built on Oasis. So the first main advantage is availability. This means that as long as you have access to an Oasis blockchain node, you can access your passwords from anywhere. The second point is Rubik uses your wallet as the way how to encrypt your keys. So if you trust blockchain encryption in general, you are trusting Rubik on how it stores your passwords. And the second point is that we still allow you to use master passwords if you want to use master passwords. However, we still use the wallet keys to basically sign the master password so that if anyone manages to brute force through your master password, they will still need your wallet keys to be able to access the passwords. Why? Because the actual master password is the signature of the master password with your wallet keys. So now I will be going through why we went with Oasis. So first of all, Oasis Sapphire basically guards your interaction with smart contracts. So Rubik is built with smart contracts. So you don't have to worry that other people are snooping your addresses and seeing your interaction with smart contracts because this is not visible. It's basically private. The other point is that we're using view call authentication, and why is this useful? It's because if you have something like Rubik on Ethereum, on Polygon, or on any other EVM chain, they will be able to read the state of smart contracts. So it's not only that we are encrypting your password with your keys, any user cannot just like find your vault address and be able to query your state because view call authentication allows us to hide the encrypted passwords from other addresses. And the last point is we're using Ruffle to basically send notifications in our deadman switch, which I will be explaining later. So as I said, we have two encryption methods. We can use the wallet keys or the master password encryption to secure your passwords, and we also support hardware wallets, mostly Ledger. So these are some screenshots showing the product on mobile. So basically you can see all the passwords. Here is how you create your vault, which can be through the encryption key or the master password. And here is how you see your details, just like in any other password manager. So as you can see, that is the web version. And we have a light theme and a dark theme. And we also built a Chrome extension. So one thing that I've noticed recently is that, for example, Bitwarden's Chrome extension is very difficult to use, especially when you need to like copy OTPs, because as the moment you switch to the browser, the Chrome extension like closes and you have an issue. And we decided to go with this design where basically the Chrome extension extends and you don't have to worry about the page and the extension like being closed and you have to reopen it. So now I will be going through our latest feature, which I feel is the edge over other password managers. Basically, this allows anyone using Rubik to set a recovery contact. So why is this useful? Have you ever thought about what happens if you die or an emergency happens or you lose your wallets? What happens to your passwords? Who can get access to those passwords? With Rubik, now you can set a recovery address. You can also set contact details that the recovery person can sort of receive notifications that, listen, you can now inherit the passwords of this address because some expiry time passed. And basically, your passwords are not lost, and you can be rest assured that even if you lose your keys or something bad happens to you, your passwords will be passed on to your family or whoever you want. So this is basically how it looks, how it would look if you were to inherit a vault. You would basically see it here in the left side. You would click inherit, and all your passwords would go directly to the left-hand side here with your other passwords. And this is how you set like the inheritance details, where basically you can enter your email, you can enter the recovery email, and you can also set custom notification times on when you will be alerted that if you don't log in, your passwords will be transferred, and also set custom expiration times for when your passwords get transferred. So this is what we've built during the past 9 months. We started with the smart contracts. We built the website, the app. We built the Chrome extension. We did an internal security audit, and we developed this deadman switch feature. Now we want to make sure that the smart contracts are safe and secure for you to trust us, and that is why we're going to start actually just now an external security audit to make Rubik safe and secure, because that is what all this product is all about. So I will close off this keynote with a recap. So how are my passwords secured? They're secured with your wallet keys and through Oasis features, which are mainly Sapphire and view call authentication. How can I share my passwords with others? Yes, you can, and you can also revoke access. What happens if I can't log in anymore? You can use the deadman switch feature to make sure that your passwords get transferred to your recovery address. Can I access my passwords from anywhere? Yes, because we've spent time designing and building Rubik to be accessible both from mobile, from tablet and desktop, and also through the extension. And can I use a hardware wallet if you just don't trust MetaMask or whatever? Yes, we do support Ledger. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, you can ask them now, or you can reach out. You can see our website, or just contact me directly on Telegram. Thank you.
Okay, everyone. I think you guys have heard about enough DeFi-related use cases today, so I'm going to present something different. And I'm going to make a case about why we need user data in Web3. Check, check, mic. Can you guys hear me at the back? Okay. So today we're going to be talking about how do we bring Web2 user data into Web3, and why do we actually need that? So every day we go online, we have our digital lives spread across a plethora of different platforms. We leave a part of our personalities in different applications. So we go on social media platforms, we go and check our bank, not every day hopefully, but like sometimes we go on different messaging platforms. We, whenever we need to go out, we book some Uber or Bolt or whatever ride sharing. We interact with our insurance, our medical insurance, car insurance, house insurance. Like, our user data is spread across plethora of different platforms, but it's trapped inside each of these platforms. So it's not interoperable. You cannot easily take it out from there, and you cannot really do much with it. But on average, every person has at least 7 profiles on 7 different platforms, and every day they're producing around 146 GB of data, which is only growing with time. Now, think about how it is in Web3. If you look at the anatomy of a wallet or a Web3 ecosystem in general, a wallet is actually a blank slate. What does a wallet have? A wallet has a pseudonymous address. Okay, you have some transactions, some assets, maybe like a few NFTs or tokens, but there is no information about the wallet holder and no easy way to actually get it as well. So if you think about creating rich user experiences and richer platforms, you need to think about like, who is my user? What do they want? Why did they actually come to my platform? What are they looking for? What is their reputation? What are they capable of? All these little pieces of data that actually make applications interesting. But a wallet is a blank slate. And we actually want to bring like billions of users from Web 2 into Web 3, and we talk about mass onboarding, but that is just not possible without bringing in user data or all their lives, the kind of data that they've produced online. And thinking about Web3, when we all started in the space, it was always about ownership over your assets and your data. I would argue that we do have ownership over our assets, but when it comes to the data part, that area is completely lacking right now. But going one step back, do we actually need user data in Web3? So there are 4 categories of use cases that are applicable today that people are looking for like solutions for today that are not possible without user data. So for example, in onboarding and UX, market and segmentation and funneling is a big part of the industry, like the internet industry. But in Web3, no way to do it. Then identity and reputation systems. How do you differentiate between a human and a bot? How do you do under or uncollateralized lending? How do you do real-world asset-backed loans? All of this information is not, all of these use cases are not possible without knowing about your user. Then access control. Any kind of access control in Web3 is not possible without knowing who the user is. Right now, like token gating is kind of like the only access control mechanism that doesn't really scale. But other than that, there is no proper way to do authenticated operations. And then personalization. Personalization is something that feels like kind of like a nice to have, but you cannot really have user retention without really tailoring the entire workflow according to what your user needs. And Web2 does it perfectly, and that is why Web2 platforms are so sticky, and Web3, unfortunately, you cannot do it without data. So I hope until now I've made the case of why we need user data in Web3, but how do we actually bring it inside? Until now, the only biggest acceptable method of bringing any kind of data is Oracle. And there have been many oracles around, Chainlink oracles, and there are other few big platforms as well. But oracles are only for normal data, like weather data, price feeds, currency rates, all of this. But when it comes to user data, oracles cannot really do that. There are right now 2 technologies that you can actually use to bring in Web2 user data. The first one is OAuth, and it allows you to bring some data from these walled gardens of Web2 platforms, and then you need to do some cryptographic operations, some attestations to bring it on chain. But it's centralized and it's controlled by platforms. So if, for example, they pull the switch and they stop giving out their APIs, then you're done for, basically. So this is kind of like one way, but not like the best way. But then there is another really cool option, and that's zk-TLS, completely permissionless. You can bring in any data from any platform, even the platforms that don't offer APIs, and we are basically using a combination of these 2. And Oasis and Ruffle TEEs actually are a big part, can be a big part of both of these operations. So for example, if you're trying to bring in user data through OAuth, then it needs to be done in a privacy-preserving way, and TEEs are the perfect option for that. Or if you want to do zk-TLS, then although zk-TLS has multiple different implementations, but the most standard implementation also involves a TEE, where you actually inspect the TLS traffic that's flowing through the TEE, and there as well the TEE environment is useful. And we are using actually a combination of these 2 techniques and using Ruffle for that. What we are actually building is that we are making users go from smart wallets to smart profiles. And until now, it makes a lot of sense that if you have a wallet, you should also have a way to link your data or your proofs with that wallet. So you should be able to go to any application and prove whatever that application is requiring from you. For example, they want to ask if you have more than $1,000 in your bank account, or if you have more than 500 Twitter followers, or if you have some credentials that allow you to do votes in a DAO, like many different use cases. What we do is we provide a customized onboarding flow. So every application can create this custom onboarding flow that I want that my user brings in this data, or I want that my user brings in that data. And it's a very simple drag and drop kind of portal where you can set it up, and then you can use it to authenticate parts of your application. So you can gate access to some parts of your application based on the data that the users are bringing in, so kind of like auth guards. And lastly, we also have AI agents that are trained on this user data. So all the data that a user is aggregating in their smart profile, there are agents that use this data and use it to do whatever their master wallet is asking them to do. For example, finding out the best NFTs or figuring out which groups should you join in Lens or Farcaster, things like that. So right now the AI agent that we have is focused mostly on discovery and curation, but we're slowly moving towards DeFi swaps and bridges as well. It's available as an SDK and any developer can integrate it in under 5 minutes. That's it. Thank you. I'm open for questions.
Yeah, this is a really long title. Since I'm the last one here, I'll try to make it short. And I'm not a technical co-founder, so I will try to explain the product as easy as possible to fit into the UX. So this is Zev. So thanks again for Oasis inviting us here. So without the Oasis privacy protocol, we won't be able to make this happen. So think about Zev. It is an AI chatbot, your virtual friend that when you feel lonely, when you feel lost, or at 3 a.m. you just couldn't fall asleep, you can talk to Zev. This is an AI chatbot, your virtual friend that will keep all your secrets in the top level of data privacy. So we found out the problem with the current chatbot and also many well-built apps in the world is many people do value their data privacy, but we always challenge that. And then also the mental health that provided by the current AI solution isn't as accurate, as personalized. So we wanted to engage the real world wearable devices with AI and also with the Web3 to protect the user data to make it cherry on top. So our initial idea at the hackathon is to engage the wearable devices such as Apple Watch with our mobiles and then to create an app that could help out users to chat. So think about use cases would be a user feel really stressed, they couldn't fall asleep. So Zev push a notification at 4 a.m. To notify the users like, we noticed you have some problems falling asleep. So we suggest you to have a really slow morning to adjust to the work mode. The solution with Zev, it is that we could allow users to chat at any time. We have the nice and smooth wearable integration, and we have this health-driven context that we know where users have poor sleep or high stress level, and we adapt to tone suggestions and encouragement accordingly. And we are the privacy-first AI. Without the chats, your personal data, it is our priority to keep it secret. And why Zev would be a game changer? Because we do integrate the dual wireless engine, which combines the emotional intelligence, which I will show you in a second, about how we track the mood of the users. And also we evaluate the private compute. All the data is analyzed inside of the Oasis Sophia's confidential smart contracts, so users don't need to worry about the leak of the information. And then we also have a few cute features that we integrated, which will be like the sleep awareness check-ins, the stress recovery reminders, and personalized tones. Here are the glance of the app. We do have, like I said, the mood tracking, which we will let users know if what is the evaluation of their sleep, how is their stress level, and what is like their diary of the day. And then at the home screen, we would have some like a quick evaluation, like, hey, the checking of how was your day, how are you doing, and we have some like activity suggestions, such as it's time to go for a walk, it's time to go explore, and so on. And this is pretty much similar like any other AI functions that people have been seeing in the market. This is the chat, and then this is like a user profile page. we try to make it really clean and clear UI for our users. And currently we are still developing, so it is not out yet, but we hope to grow this app as soon as possible when we release the testnet, so everyone here are welcome to download, and we aim to have 5,000 downloads as the early campaign. Yep. So what we ask is people could invent wellness innovations, wearable brands, and privacy-first VCs to join us. And also everyone here who is interested about this app could sign up for our testnet. My other co-founder, unfortunately, he is not here today with me. He's the technical co-founder. We met 2 years ago at ETHCC, and we are good friends ever since, and started to build this Zeph app together last year. And he also have a really nice experience with blockchain AI. And I work in Web 2. I have a design background. I also work at Binance and some DeFi protocols. Yeah, happy to be on this journey. And thank you. This would be the last page. And yeah, just